right foot on the, there is no gas, on the accelerator. Here we go. And you're gonna hear a sound, and then you're gonna hear an even cooler sound, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. Here we go. Oh my gosh! Hey guys, I'm Bradley Hasemeyer, and this is the 2023 BMW iX M60. Yes, that's right. It's wearing the M Sport badge of BMW's famous sport world, and it's an all-electric SUV. People on the internet love it. People on the internet hate it. Today we're going to figure out what we think about it. But either way, this is the future of automobiles. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the BMW iX M60. See this? This is spec sheets. This is a press release with all kinds of information. Okay, you know what? I'm talking to you today. I'm not talking about a press sheet. So, let's get to it. All right, now the very first thing you should know before the car even starts, before the vehicle even starts, I use my BMW app. Now, what's cool about this app is I can set, I'm gonna leave every morning at 7:10 to take my daughter to school. It can precondition the vehicle so that when I come out, depending on if it's hot outside or cold outside, it knows what to do in here and either cools the car off or warms the car up or whatever. The car is set and ready, and I can program that through the app. I can also see all kinds of specs and stats as far as how long my charging time was. I can look at my driving. You can also remote lock and unlock if you feel like you left something. Oh, and if you think you left something in the car, how about this? There's a camera right up here on the top, and you can do a live view mode of your car. So if you're like, I think I left my phone, or your significant other may have left their phone, and maybe they do that all the time. It's not about me and my relationship with my wife. Anyway, and you think maybe they left it here, it's sitting in the dash, or it's on the front seat, just pull up the app, pull up a photo, and you can see a live view, and then tap, zoom in. Oh yeah, you know what? It's in the back seat. We left your sweater, your water bottle, whatever, and you can see all that from in the car using the app. So that's another thing about this that just makes this vehicle so ahead of its time. There are elements of this that you can get with other OEMs, other automakers that offer that, but to package all this together, and we haven't even driven yet, I'm already impressed. So there you go. Before we even get going, I love the app. Now, to start this vehicle is very simple. You just push the start button, foot on the brake, start. You're gonna hear a lot of really cool sounds when you drive this vehicle. That beeping is not one of them. So let me put on my seatbelt, make sure my mic is set, and we're ready to rock and roll. So to get the vehicle going, it starts off in a default mode. Now I've programmed in what I like so that when I get in the vehicle, it recognizes me, it moves the steering wheel, adjusts the mirrors, moves the seat, adjusts the lumbar, all that type of stuff. And I love that element too, just getting in and it knows who I am. But one of the things to note here is that the sport mode has launch control. And I'm not just here to drive, I'm here to launch. So I'm gonna get that going. Simply push the sport button. Things change a little bit here. I select my drive by pulling back on the Crystal Cathedral. Right there. Okay. I'm gonna pull over right around here. Get ready for launch. I'm gonna give you a countdown. Left foot on the brake. Let me double check my numbers. I do need the spec sheet here real quick because I don't want to lie to you. Yeah. All right. What I'm about to engage is 610 horsepower. Is that right? And 811 pound-feet of torque. 811. All right. Left foot on the gas. I'm sorry. Left foot on the brake. Right foot on the, there is no gas, on the accelerator. Here we go. And you're gonna hear a sound, and then you're gonna hear an even cooler sound, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. Here we go. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I cannot wait for someone else to experience that. That is true launch. Obviously, one of the benefits to an electric vehicle is that pure, full torque from 0 and 811. I gotta keep looking at 811 pound-feet of torque. People, that's a lot of torque. Now, the sound you heard was actually composed by Hans Zimmer. Yes, the film score guy. I think that is such a cool sound. I know there's gonna be some haters out there that'll be like, that sounds like a power drill, or it sounds like a ride at Disney World. And you know what? I like drills, and I'm okay with Disney World. Just, you know, dad life kind of stuff. You got people turning and looking. That's what you want, right? As long as it's not the police turning and looking in an iX. That's what you want in a BMW, an M Sport, an M60. All right. So that is fun launch performance. Let me talk about the rest of the handling dynamics of this vehicle. And then I want to talk about the interior, because you spend more of your time in here than out there. Now, one of the things that separates the M60 from just the iX, which is of course BMW's first all-electric SUV, is that there are some suspension upgrades. I mean, what a great sound! That's such a cool sound. There are stiffer front and rear sway bars. And, you know, one of the dynamics of driving any electric vehicle, of course, especially if it's put together kind of like the skateboard concept that Tesla had, all the batteries are in the bottom. So you've got a much lower center of gravity. And what that allows is for the vehicle to rebound quicker when it's turning. When it's going back and forth, it's already planted. A higher center of gravity means you're gonna be more kind of tippy, right? Like back and forth. But when you lower the center of gravity, it's like when you see a football player running and they're about to tackle someone, they squat down because that lowers their center of gravity and makes it harder for them to get knocked back when they're about to tackle somebody else. So the cornering in this thing is fantastic. It just takes off. You almost feel a swell of power, like riding a wave. Like almost like the vehicle lifts a little bit, because it's just the power is there. I know that's not something you want in a vehicle normally, is lift, and I'm not saying it does, I'm just saying it feels like that. Some of my friends jogging on the road, don't want to hit them. What's up, fellas? Now, the range that BMW vehicle is telling me was about 300 after I had left it overnight and let it plugged in and charge up and all that kind of thing. So, you know, on page, that sounds pretty good. It's already down to 285, and I have certainly not gone 15 miles. So, you know, it's almost kind of like in a gas car when you're talking about, oh, I get, you know, 25 miles per gallon. Well, not when you're driving like that. You're probably closer to like, you know, 10 or 12. So that's one of those issues people have with EVs is, oh, there's range anxiety. I'm so nervous. Am I going to be able to make it back home? You know, if you live 200 miles away from where you work, number one, you should try to find another job. And number two, maybe you should find a different car. But for just driving this thing around, oh my gosh. This is dangerous in a good way. Fast. Wow. Okay. All right. So the performance is clearly there. The specs are there. 600 plus horsepower, 800 plus pound-feet of torque. Now that's in sport mode. Now I can also adjust my modes right here in the center, and maybe I'll just go back to personal mode, which is more of like a normal average, and that's 500 plus horsepower in that mode. The software allows you to access more horsepower when you change the mode. So the good thing about that too is almost like a cylinder deactivation that you would have in a gas vehicle that's trying to be a little bit more efficient. So I love the way that it handles. I love the way it drives. Look, everybody out there has been talking about this vehicle saying it's so smooth, it's so fast, and yes, it's all those things, but there's a whole lot more going on here. This is not just an electric vehicle. This is the future. Ladies and gentlemen, this is like 20 years ahead of its time. That's why I think people are hating on this car, because they're so used to this is what a car should look like. This doesn't. I mean, yes, it's got four wheels, it's got some glass and all that. The steering wheel is not even a wheel. It's like, what is that, a hexagon? They've rethought the entirety of the interior. So let's talk about that. It's a good segue. When you look at the dash, it's really just one giant piece of leather, and then they've clicked a TV on, as if hanging your TV up on the wall. I love that. What a cool look to it. The screen itself is absolutely gorgeous. The infotainment, very responsive, easy to slide through, tons of usefulness there. Frankly, you know, it's kind of like Photoshop. You probably, if you use Photoshop, you just use like 5% of the abilities of it's kind of like me with this. All I'm doing is using my wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which Android Auto is new for this year, so that's a big plus for BMW. I don't mind pulling out in front of somebody here because I'm already going faster than them. I love that you can completely configure the digital dash in front of you. It's got a couple different options, a couple different looks. We're seeing that in other vehicles as well. That's not necessarily anything groundbreaking, but how about the interior looks? The fact that there's so much space in here because there's no drive shaft that's coming through the middle. I've got a lot of space down toward my feet. It feels really spacious even though its dimensions are similar to an X5. Of course, it's all-wheel drive because it's in the X category. You have this really cool sunroof, which is kind of this like, it's opaque. Hit a button and it kind of frosts up. Hit it again and it opens in terms of like, it becomes a little more transparent, which I really dig. I don't know, something just beeped at me. Oh, somebody's trying to play my music, so they hit play. Oh, yeah, I know why. There's another thing to talk about, gesture control. I can turn up the music or turn down the music just using my hands. I'm not touching anything. There's a camera up here that's pointed toward the screen, and as I move my hands, I can move to the next track and it beeps. There's other gestures that you can kind of set. I had to watch a little video that's on the screen here, but I love that there's that element too. That's another reason why this is so futuristic. How about the fact that the door handles don't even look like door handles? This feels like I'm driving a concept vehicle. Usually this is the type of vehicle that you see at an auto show and you think, wow, this is super cool, but they'll never hit play on this thing. They'll never be able to produce it. They've done it. Now, the M60 itself, is it worth going with the upgrade? It's about another 20 grand or so over the regular iX. Do you need that extra performance? I mean, does anybody need that extra performance? You certainly want the extra performance, but when I'm driving along here, to me, it's really about this vehicle as being a whole different entry into the market. You know, you've got an F-150 Lightning that's all electric, which is cool for the trucks. Really, the only competitor I would say to this is Tesla. And there's a lot of people out there that are like, yes, Tesla, but everyone has a Tesla if you want an electric vehicle. So it's nice that there's some other options out there. Oh, and something just happened that reminded me. Thank you, iX, for reminding me. One of the cool features that I have set up under my profile is adaptive regenerative braking. So you can set your regen, as they call it, to high, low, or adaptive. And what that does essentially is it uses the natural force, the kinetic energy of what you're doing, and uses the brakes to then capture some of that energy from the wheels and put that back into the battery. And you could have it be hard, which is another technique that people use for one pedal driving. So you never even touch the brake unless you're at a stop sign or something. And as you take your foot off the throttle, the car kind of noses. I didn't really like that feel, but what I love about the adaptive regen is it's BMW being super smart. So it uses the cameras, the sensors, and GPS information to let the car know when it should start going a little harder on the regen or when it should just let off and, you know, kind of let bygones be bygones. So to me, that's just a brilliant technology. If it sees a car right in front of me and I'm slowly putting on the brakes, it's like, oh yeah, well, it's brake time because we don't want to hit that car. Go ahead and start adding in a little more regen. If, for instance, it sees in front of me, there's no cars in front of me, then I take my foot off the throttle and I'm essentially coasting right now, and it knows to do that. If someone pulled out in front of me, it would automatically push that down. GPS, of course, comes into play because am I on real twisty roads? Am I going up a hill, down a hill? These types of things. It's able to figure all that out. And I was using it on the freeway under adaptive cruise control, and those systems working together were really helpful to be able to put as much power back in the battery as possible without causing me to slow down so much that I actually have to use more power to get going. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you understand regenerative braking, I think it will. So I am totally impressed with this car. I actually think the looks have grown on me. When I first saw on social and we posted about it on Hot Cars, you know, it got a lot of pushback, obviously. BMW was probably like, didn't see that coming. The huge kidney grills, the elongated look, it's a little squatty, it's supposed to be an SUV, you can't really take it off-road because, you know, the ground clearance and those types of things. But the more I've driven it, first off, you forget about all that because you're in this futuristic, supernatural interior with light bouncing off of the crystal cathedral accents, and you're getting this like prism light, and you can pick relaxation, and the ambient lighting at night in here is super cool, and you kind of forget about it. But then even walking up to it after a while, I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. Like that, those are the looks. Now, are you willing to feel that way at $100,000 or more? I mean, that's kind of up to you. And I feel like this is really a stepping stone type of vehicle for BMW in terms of, you know, really adding. I mean, I'm not going to get over that sound. I love that sound. But I really feel like this is like, you're going to see, this is breaking ground, and what's to come next from BMW in terms of their SUVs is going to be really impressive. So I love this car. I'm already thinking about my article that I'm going to write. We have to give it a number, and I'm already feeling that number. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You got to check my article out on Hot Cars to be able to know what that is. So yeah, but I'm curious your thoughts, huh? What do you think? Obviously the internet is divided, but the internet's also full of people who like to be angry and tell everyone about that anger. So I don't know if you've ever noticed that before. But I just wanted to, yeah, I'm curious what you think. What are your thoughts on this? It's so smooth, it's so quick. It handles really well. I mean, I'm really kind of pushing it. It's a heavy vehicle, but that low center of gravity really helps. So what are your thoughts? Love it or hate it? Let us know in the comments below. I'm Bradley Hasemeyer. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. We got car reviews coming up all the time. We get early access to things that you want to know about. So the whole point is you hit subscribe, ding. I'm sure we'll throw a graphic on there or something like that. Oh, look at that. The BMW even dinged for me. There you go, guys, there you go. Have a great day. I'm off to go charge this thing up. It's a little thirsty in the electronic department.